Hey guys, as promised, here is the Squishmallows tutorial. We're going to be making the bee and the panda. Firstly, I rummaged in my daughter's room to find one of her many Squishmallows. This is the hedgehog. And as you can see, it's quite plump and round, but it's thinner on its side profile. We're just going to be using this as a guide for when we're carving. I'm roughly aiming to make them the same size. I've got my acrylic workboard and I'm just filling and stacking my 6-inch round cakes. For this one, I'm going 5 layers of cake high, which is roughly the same height as our original Squishmallow. Now you want to take your knife and start carving to replicate the shape. I've cut the front and the back to make the slimmer side profile, and now I'm starting to round it out. The 6-inch cake isn't quite as wide as an original Squishmallow, but by the time we have ganache and sugar paste on it, it's going to look wider. So I'm going to stop here with this basic shape and I'm going to start coating it in chocolate ganache. For tutorials on how to make the ganache, they're always linked in the description box. Once the first coat is done, I'm now padding the sides out with a little bit of ganache. You can see I'm just sculpting in some wider sides to make it match. If you see the shape change slightly in between what I'm working on, that's because I'm doing 2 Squishmallows, the bee and the panda, and I'm either filming one or the other in the clips. These mini acetate smoothers are great for working around all the contours. Here I'm covering the bee. I've just rolled out my yellow paste and I'm draping it over the top, pulling out the pleats as I go around. Once it's all covered, I'm going to trim away all that bulk from the bottom, and then I'm using a plastic scraper, gently pushing some of that paste underneath the cake. I never fully cut close until I've pushed the paste as far as it will go. Here I'm actually using the scraper to push it under and also trim it at the same time. For smoothing out shapes, the best smoothie you can actually get is a ball of sugar paste. Just slightly open your fingers and squash it into the ball to help hold it. The ball of paste will start to flatten out and take on the shape of the Squishmallow. As you can see, it's now all squashed and the surface has become shiny and smooth. I've got one of my larger stitching wheels and I'm just using this for the stitching all around the top and sides. To make it look extra plump and plush, I'm just marking in a few crease lines with my Dresden tool. I've got my board already done. This was last week's tutorial, so feel free to go and watch that if you missed it. But I'm just adding a blob of ganache as glue and then carefully lifting my Squishmallow into position. This is a 16-inch board and it fits 2 of my 6-inch Squishmallows that have been padded out side by side. I have my yellow one a little further into the centre as we need some room for its wings. The panda was covered in the same way, but all we did was add a black band around the centre. I'm now drawing a circle onto some greaseproof paper, cutting it out because we're going to be using this as a template for the bee's belly. Just hold it up to the bee to check for size and trim it smaller if needed. Now we have the right size, I'm using my quilting ruler to cut equal black strips from sugar paste. The sugar paste has been passed through the pasta machine to make all the strips a nice equal thickness. Once you have your strips cut, I'm coating one side of my greaseproof circle in veg fat, carefully laying on the bee's black stripes and cutting them to the same shape. This just ensures all my stripes are the shape I want them. I'm then going in with my Dresden tool just to mark the outer edge where the circle would be. Squishmallow's eyes are just black circles and the bee has 2 smaller pink circles for cute little cheeks. I'm then rolling a sausage of black and curling the top end over. This is to make its little antennas and you just want to chop the bottom flat. I've added cocktail sticks to mine as this cake is travelling and it's just to hold them straight and sturdy on their journey. For the panda's eyes, these are large oval shapes slightly turned inwards. And a little black dot for a nose, which you can see I'm actually stretching out into an oval by pulling out either side, and then I'm taking my Dresden tool to create a tiny point at the bottom. The panda's eyes are white circles with a black one in the centre. For his ears, this is a chunky black circle cut in half, and they're stuck on either side of the head with water. For the mouths, I'm using metallic black paint, and everything I use will be linked in the description box below. I'm just using a fine paintbrush and very carefully painting on a mini smile whilst holding my breath. You can just add in the first initial line and then thicken it out as needed. For the bee's wings, I'm just cutting a simple wing shape out of wafer paper and I'm holding it against the bee's body and marking where the top and the bottom of the wafer paper ends. I'm running my Dresden tool between these points to open up a gap. You want to paint your wafer paper with piping gel, insert it into the gap and then close the sugar paste back around the wing to hold it in place. The other wing is quite difficult to get to because the panda's in the way, so we're just sticking the wing to the panda's body with piping gel just to give the illusion that the wing is there from the front. And that's it, super simple, but you can see we've pretty much got the sizing right and the shape compared to our original hedgehog squishmallow. Ganache is great for just plumping out an area that needs a little bit more volume. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and don't forget to check out the poppet board we made last week. Let me know if you give this one a try as there are so many Squishmallow animals to choose from. Thanks guys, see you next week.